Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of Gluten. In this channel, we will be covering a wide range of topics related to system design, including distributed systems, microservices, databases, networking, and much more. In this video, we will be discussing cache. Caching is a technique used to store frequently accessed data in a temporary location, usually in memory, so that it can be accessed more quickly in the future. But what does it mean to store data in memory? Storing data in memory refers to the practice of storing data in a computer's random access memory rather than a hard drive or other storage device. It's called random access because the data can be quickly read and modified in any order. This allows computer programs to store data temporarily while they are being accessed or processed at the same time. RAM is generally faster and more accessible than disk, but it is also more expensive and has less capacity. Eventually, we want to improve query read performance for our application. Since query read is often a synchronized operation, most of the time the user wants the information immediately after the request is sent, without waiting. Imagine you are visiting an LA Fitness website and the image did not load for 3 seconds. You will be considered a bad user experience. There are two common access patterns that you can implement. The first one is called lazy loading. What we follow is a very simple process. Every time we want to get information, we're gonna attempt to read from the cache first. If information is in the cache, we proceed with sub-millisecond response time, and the user successfully gets the data and continue with our application. If it's not in the cache, then it's considered a cache miss. The database is queried for the data. The cache is then populated with the data that is retrieved from the database, and the data is returned to the user. This approach has a couple of advantages. First, the cache contains only data that the application actually requests, which helps keep the cache size cost effective. Secondly, implementing this approach is very simple and straightforward and produces immediate performance gains. Lazy loading also has disadvantages. When your cache is completely empty, the user has to visit the database every time a new query comes in. Some overhead is added to the initial response time because additional round trips to the cache and database are needed. We can overcome this drawback by implementing write-through cache, the second method of caching that we will discuss. A write-through cache reverses the order of how cache is populated. Instead of cache populating when you read the data, you are populating it when you write the data. The first step is to write to the primary database. Immediately afterward, the data is also updated in the cache. There are two advantages of write-through strategy. First, because of the cache is up to date with the primary database, there is a much greater chance that the data will be found in the cache. This ensures a fast and responsive user experience. Secondly, the performance of your database is optimal because fewer database reads are performed. A disadvantage of write-through approach is that data that is not frequently requested is also written to the cache, resulting in a larger and more expensive cache. The write-through pattern is almost always implemented along with lazy loading. If the application gets a cache miss because the data is not present or has expired, the lazy loading pattern is performed to update the cache. A real-world example of the combination of write-through caching and lazy loading is in a web application that displays a large amount of data to users. The application uses a write-through cache to ensure that any updates to the data are immediately written to both the cache and the database, and also use lazy loading to only load the data that is needed for the current view, rather than loading all of the data at once. In this video, we explore two caching strategies, lazy loading and write-through techniques, and discuss their pros and cons. In practice, carefully evaluate your goals, understanding data access pattern, and choose the best strategy or a combination. I hope you enjoyed this video. Go check out our newsletter link in description, and please subscribe if you found this video useful. See you next time.